People came in sort of civilian clothes and they surrounded me with grenades and machine guns. And one chap gave me some printouts and it said that the armed forces had taken over and it's best that you go back to Aden and from there you can communicate with us, you know. I feel that throughout it was my faith in God and His design for me that had made me survive the ordeal. It's funny, but I felt that it was not going to be a separation for long. I felt that I was going to go back to Makalla.
His Royal Highness the Sultan Ghalib bin Awe bin Saleh bin Ghalib al-Qu'aiti, ruler of Qu'aiti state in Hadramaut, takes his morning run. His determination to keep fit is part of the legacy of a British public school education. Following his father's sudden death last year, this 19-year-old schoolboy found himself pitchforked into politics at a critical period in South Arabian history. Now on his staying power depends the future of Qu'aiti and the welfare of his subjects. Qu'aiti has a population of 400,000 scattered over an area bigger than England and Wales. Since all but 1% of the country is desert, a high proportion of the population lives here in Makalla, the capital.
Hadramaut, it was a very prosperous country once upon a time because it lay astride the all-important east-west commercial overland routes.
Along the Luna Hills runs the incense road of the ancient world. Along here came the caravans bringing frankincense from Africa, pearls from Ceylon, ivory and ostrich plumes. There was hardly an altar in the Roman Empire that did not owe its fragrance to the camel tears of the Hadramaut.
The Qu'aiti, which is my family or my tribe, derived from their highlands on the fringes of Yemen proper during 1117 Hijri, which corresponds roughly with 1705, I believe. And they managed to remove the Yemeni presence from Hadramaut and were invited to settle down and police the region.
Along the road, great empires rose and declined. People fought each other for control of the trade route.
And as a reward for their troubles, they were given some lands. This is, of course, my mother's, my grandfather, Mir Mahbub Ali Khan, in his youth, you know, same man. This, of course, you can guess who this is. This is our grandfather, my grandfather. You've been named after him, Sultan Saleh. My hero. He was a very unusual man for somebody of his background at that time.
Arab traders had seen British colonial rule at first hand and prompted their local sultans to ask the British to come in and help to keep the peace. They were designed to last, as one of them puts it, till the raven's wings grow white.
My grandfather, with the support of the senior Sayyids and elders of the region, decided to have a closer relationship with the British in order to benefit from their advice and technical expertise, financial aid and so on. And he signed what was known as the Treaty of Advice, according to which he had to agree to whatever British advice was offered to him as in his best interests. With the and this of course did not apply to the Islamic tenets of the Islamic faith, but in political matters and so on.
Qu'aiti is pitifully dependent on the little aid which he gets from Britain. What have the British done for Qu'aiti? What do the children of the Eastern Protectorate learn at school about their British protectors? Well, they learn that the British came here at the end of the last century to make sure that no other power came here. Soon they may learn that the British left after 80 years, leaving a nasty smell behind them. Between the coming and the going, there is little for them to learn.
This is the boys from Bedouin school parading, you know, assemble for a parade. It's amazing. Very, very good. Very bright, intelligent, everything. I myself was not much older than them, but I paid a lot of attention to the generation who were going to control tomorrow, you see, or really. I don't know if you recognize the little boy there next to me.
Gosh, that was a long time ago.
That's you.
A very long time ago.
Yeah. This is me, of course, in the traditional robes of my, I'm wearing my grandfather's dagger. All these we've lost them now, because they were left behind. And this is me on a tour in Shibam making speeches. And this is me inspecting the troops there. And I was treated always like a grown-up, which is amusing because of my rank as the heir, So I was treated as a grown-up. And I took it very, very seriously. This is me making my coronation speech. I had written it myself. I had made it a point to tell them, to address myself to the people in a very straightforward manner, telling especially the Bedouins that they had been neglected, and I intended to devote greater attention to their needs and requirements, to bring them, to make up for lost time. And by this simple statement, I believe I had won over their loyalty to me.
What proportion these Bedouin tribesmen make of the total population is not clear, because there's never been a census. They certainly account for a high proportion of the Sultan's headaches. Every day, for 4 or 5 hours, Sultan Ghalib is at home to his subjects. As their religious as well as their temporal leader, he's the final arbiter in disputes involving Islamic and customary law.
With Islam, you are answerable to anybody, the lowest of the low, at any time, as a ruler. The Prophet, for example, would only recommend those people who could be good rulers to the position. For example, Abu al-Ghafari, who was a companion of the Prophet, and he used to wait on the Prophet. You see. Once he asked for an office. The Prophet said, no, if I knew that you would do justice to your office, I would appoint you, but I know that then this would not suit you. This would only drag you down, from being a good man into somebody, who does no wrong, into somebody who would end up doing wrong. So this is not the thing for you. So there are certain people born for it.
As well as settling disputes, the Sultan uses these daily audiences to sample opinion among his subjects.
I had all these ideas which I have tried to formulate and collect together and gather, and about how I was going to face my challenges. And when I took over, I had this fund of goodwill because of the fact that I had taken over so young, and because of the enormity of the challenges that I faced. And therefore I had a good start. And the first thing I did was, because my father's minister had done away with the State Council, which was a consultative body, which helped in the decision-making process. So my first priority was to have this replaced. Because in Islam you have the principle of shura, to be able to listen to advice, to be able to listen to criticism. These are all, very, very important. And if you are a ruler, then you must realize that you are the servant, you're not the ruler. The photograph that I'm most proud of is this one, in which I'm working with the workmen at the on the Mukalla highway, because I had made it a point of letting people know that there was nothing wrong with working with one's hands. If you thought you came from a loftier social background than the people who actually work with mud and stones.
So you set a very good example.
So I was, and I was trying to say that this was real socialism. And all this was winning to me adherents, people who, who were seeing what I meant and what I was trying to pass on to them. And I felt that the way to fight was to prove to the people that true socialism is this, as preached, at least for our way of life, as preached by the Prophet and the successor. This, oh, by the way, people used to say that sultans are, unpopular and they're reactionary. These are the kind of crowds that I used to draw when my procession used to drive through the town on official occasions.
By now, Britain was on the way out. South Arabia seemed to be sliding towards chaos. The struggle for power between NLF and Flossie killed and injured hundreds of Arabs as well as British soldiers. Each nationalist group outbid the other in terrorism or political demands, trying to establish its claim to true national leadership. While the sheikhs saw their position steadily eroded as the day approached when their ancient British protection would disappear, the federal government of sheikhs was essentially a ramshackle rule by committee.
The British were very keen to have us join the Federation as well, but we were sort of opposing it on the grounds that the United Nations had passed resolutions concerning the future of this area, which called for a referendum.
I feel that the people should decide, and we are in the process of electing a National Assembly, which I hope will decide this for me. But the choices, as one sees, are that we can either join up with the Republic of the Yemen or Saudi Arabia, or we can, and either we can stay on our own, or we can form a federation of the three eastern states, of the Hadramaut.
For the first time in the history of Hadramaut, that all the tribal chiefs had got together under the same roof, and this was a result of my speech and the goodwill that my coronation speech had generated. And with their backing, I felt I could do anything, because they represented the majority and they were with me. Yeah. The British were trying very hard to do something that went against the grain of the people, even though it was in our interest. They were willing to spend money on it, bribe us, do anything we wanted. Now, they had committed themselves before the United Nations to give this area independence as soon as possible and leave it in a unified form with a good government. They wanted to leave a good record behind, but forces were working against that. And they were asking us to join this, and I did not want to, because first of all, my people, for example, did not want to join the Federation.
In the matter of joining the Federation, it looks very much as though you haven't been given very much choice by Britain. Do you feel badly about this?
Well, we all feel very bitter about it, because we had stood with the British. We were one of the first states ever to establish good relations with them on a high level, and we've always, we've hardly ever troubled them, you see, unlike the Western Indian Protectorate states. And we feel that we are just being badly treated for all our faith that we had in the British.
I had to argue with myself, whether I obey the British, the sort of ultimate lords and masters, or side with my people. The British were going to withdraw sooner or later. I had to sort of come to terms with the people, with my people, and to be accountable to them. Therefore, I thought this was in the best interest, that we remain aloof and we could join with anybody we wanted in the future. Now, the British had a golden chance of making the Federation work by not announcing the date of independence, or even agreeing to delay it until order was restored. The British actually sort of kept on to their schedule, and in fact ended up even by bringing forward the date of independence. This, I'm afraid, is a rather historical picture, because this was just before, on the 17th of September 1967, this is just before the so-called NLF arrived to surround me and demand my abdication. It's a historical picture. They handed me these printouts of claiming that the armed forces, rather grand term, had taken over. They said, now you must abdicate and sign a letter of abdication. So I discovered that this was a British requirement, so in order that it would be legal for the British, absolutely legal for them to negotiate with the politicals who take over. And I refused. They got threatening. They said, all right, we'll give you half an hour to sign, otherwise I just played, I was not afraid. It was very funny. When you're faced with death like that, when it's sudden, you don't get frightened. It's only when you've played it out in your mind beforehand that you start fearing. But if it happens, if you come face to face with death just like this suddenly, and haven't had time to think, you become quite sort of, it doesn't sink in. In the end, they pleaded, "Would you like to give a message to the people?" I said, "Okay, yes, I'd like to do that." I said, "Please, I'd like you to settle your affairs amongst yourselves as your brothers and not have any kind of bloodshed on my account." They lowered the flag, and some of them came and shook my hand, and they were shivering, so on. I thought any good thing could happen, and I ended up in Saudi Arabia. It was actually my Islamic upbringing, the teaching of Islam, the lessons I had learned from the lives of the Prophet, companions, my heroes, which had made me last out. I went back to Hadramaut in 1996. It was a dream come true. It was like writing the final line in my autobiography. The head of the Socialist Party met me very warmly at Sana'a airport, and when we arrived in Mukalla, there was a whole group of people who had asked for permission to line up to receive me. You see, people had come from all the neighboring villages and spent the night outside in the cold, outside the airport, just in order to be able to say welcome to me. It was a very moving experience, and people with children who had not seen me but heard tales about me, they all ran around the car and so on, dancing and shouting and cheering. My advice to any ruler would be, learn humility. If you have nobody above you except for God to answer back to, you should at least be able to answer back to your conscience. Look at yourself in the mirror and count your mistakes, so that it teaches you humility. I think that one suffering actually polishes up the character, ultimately, the inner character, the inner soul, and one comes out the better. So therefore, I do not, for example, hold any regrets. You could say that this, I'm saying it at this stage because of sour grapes, rather like the story of the fox, but this is not true. When one is bound by oneself and one thinks about it all, you realize that you are here because of a divine scheme, a divine ordainment of things. And this was the role I was allotted to play.